Hey everyone, I'm back. After taking a week off of not doing this, I'm going to do episodes 3 and 4 together since they were pretty much like a double leg type thing. Okay, so with episode 3, we saw the teams leaving Bora Bora and going to New Zealand. And as teams were leaving the pit stop, there was a lot of drama with Dave and Connor, with Dave's Achilles being torn, and they went to the hospital. And as far as I know, I think if your Achilles is torn, you have surgery. So I'm pretty surprised they let him go back on the race after tearing his Achilles. And then also at the airport in Tahiti, there's a lot of alliance stuff going on. I saw that Beth and Mona and Joey and Megan were creating like an alliance with John and Jessica. Which, I guess, I'm not a fan of alliances, but, if it works for you, then it works for you. But in the end, it's not always a good thing. And then there's also John and Jessica gave up their express pass to Dave and Connor, which, is a pretty good idea since, they're probably the weakest team there now that Dave has the injury. So yeah, teams arrive in New Zealand, and they go on these jet boats up the river, which looks really cool. I've been saying this all season, everything they're doing this season is pretty cool. And then there's a detour, which was either catch a fish in a lake or do this driving course. I'm not exactly sure what it was called again, but some kind of driving course in the mud. And out of those two, the easier one really seemed like the fish. I'm like, come on, it can't be that hard to catch a fish. I've gone fishing before and I've caught a fish, and if I can catch a fish, anyone can. So, that doesn't really seem that hard. And I found it really surprising that Dave and Connor, who were at that time in first place, gave up their express pass to pass the detour. That was a really dumb move. To just give up. Just so you can get first place. It's like, you have an injury, you should be saving it for whenever you most need it. And then there's the roadblock, which is the Schmozzle race, which I've never even heard of what a Schmozzle is before that, and that even after watching the show I still don't know what a Schmozzle is. So they do that, and it's like this obstacle course where you have to transport eggs through you have to go through a chicken coop, and then you have to go through this little tunnel where you get covered in feathers, and then you have to go down this slide into this pit of mud, and it looks fun. I don't really get the point of it, but it looks fun. And then the episode ended with Dave and Connor arriving first at the pit stop, and Phil telling them that they have to keep racing. So then all the teams fly to Bali, Indonesia, and when they get there, they go to this monkey forest where they have to have a monkey open up a coconut for them to reveal the clue inside, which I don't know, I feel like it was a little sketchy because I feel like the monkeys would just take the coconut and run with it. I would have been afraid that a monkey was just going to steal the clue, and you'd be screwed. Oh, and the detour. The detour was either build some kind of religious monument out of fruit, or load sand from under a river into a basket and carry it up a hill. The temple one would have been the better one to choose. So I've lifted wet sand before, and it is not light. It is very heavy. And you're carrying that thing, these big buckets on your head, and up a hill. That just seemed like it took way too long. The fruit one was a lot easier. One thing that surprised me during the detour is how John and Jessica, they got to the temple one, and they messed up on, John and Jessica, they got to the fruit one, and they messed up on the monument. And I thought it was kind of weird how they decided to try it over again, and they still got it wrong. You have the express pass. Last place is creeping up on you, and you're not using the express pass? It just doesn't make sense to me. But yeah, eventually they were in last place, and they get to the roadblock. And the roadblock was pretty much, you had to find a surfboard that had a picture of something they encountered on the race. And the thing that it was from back in episode 2 when they got this blessing by this priest in Bora Bora. They had to find the picture of him on a surfboard. And most teams didn't really have any problem with it. It looked like a pretty easy task. The only teams that really struggled with it, the Blondes didn't really seem to have an easy time with it, since the one just broke down. I mean, I guess stress of the race caused that, but and John, who they were in neck and neck last place with Chuck and Winona, yet they refused to use that express pass. It's like, you're about to be eliminated and you still don't want to use your express pass? Like, I don't know what's wrong with John. Like, really. You have the express pass, use it, you're about to be eliminated. And yet, I don't know if it was ego, if it was exhaustion, or what was wrong with him. There was something going on with him, but he did not seem to be stable at the moment. The way he just was so obsessed with getting those surfboards, and he even tried to look at the surfboards that Phil already collected from the teams, and I understand the whole you don't want to give up, but you have an express pass, and not using that express pass is pretty much giving up. I feel like coming in last place and getting eliminated because you did not use the express pass is probably one of the dumbest moves you could ever make on the race. Out of Chuck and Winona and John and Jessica, I like Chuck and Winona better, so I'm sort of glad that they made it and John and Jessica didn't, but still, it was a very dumb move on their part. Next week, make sure you watch. They're going to Vietnam, and it's going to be a double U-turn, so there's going to be some good drama coming on. See you next week.